Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop, from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast, with another episode of Huge Pop Showcases the WXW. And man, I cannot wait. WXW final event is this Saturday, Saturday the 13th. Our guest tonight is considered by many the blue chipper with a hard-hitting style and a laser-like focus on winning. He has been on the WWE and AEW. He is Mr. Extraordinary. He holds the Riot Pro tag team titles. He is the WXW television champ. Welcome to the show, Chico Adams. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing beyond amazing, living the dream. Thank you so much for having me. It's a true honor and privilege.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. I can't thank Alpha, Pops, and Julio Rivera anymore, the most, because they set this up. Without permission from those two people, I wouldn't be meeting guys like you and the rest of the WXW roster. So thank you for being for saying yes when I messaged you about a week ago. Thank you for saying that. So
yeah,
let's dive right into it. Can you explain to the audience your experience growing up as a wrestling fan?
So my very early experience came when I was 3 years old. I was watching WrestleMania 5. I remember seeing Hulk Hogan versus the Macho Man in the main event. That was my very earliest memory, but I didn't start watching it like full time until I was in the fourth grade. I was 10 years old, and the reason I fell in love with it was because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, this was like late 1998. He was so mainstream. He was on T-shirts. He was on magazine covers. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing his face or hearing his name. So I was so intrigued by that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch just one episode of Monday Night Raw just to see what the hype's all about. So I watched one episode, and next thing you know, I'm hooked on it. I'm watching every week. And, you know, I just decided, hey, you know what? I want to be a professional wrestler. And I never lost that dream. Every day that went by, my passion, my hunger to be a pro wrestler just grew more and more and more.
Did you get into WCW at all?
Honestly, not really. Like, obviously, I knew what it was, but it's funny because it was almost like a rivalry in real life because I'd go to school and, like, I was always pro WWE, and a lot of my friends were pro WWE. But, like, if they caught wind of someone watching WCW, they would almost consider you to be, like, a traitor, you know? So it's almost like you had to be on one side or the other. But in general, like, I was always pro WWE. Years later, I would watch WCW more for like studying purposes, but I wasn't the type of person to like watch both. I was just strictly WWE. But of course, I knew what WCW was. But you know, like I said, being later on, especially when I got in the business, I'd go back and I would study videos. And there's so many classic matches in WCW and classic moments as well. But I was always a huge fan of the NWO. So when they came to WWE, especially, I went back and I rewatched a lot of the footage and a lot of the moments and memories. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm a fan of it from a working perspective, but as a kid and my whole life, I've always been like, WWE's always been number one to me.
You still watch the mainstream stuff today?
I'll be honest, I don't watch it as much as I should just because of my schedule, you know, between traveling and doing shows and working and the gym, you know, things like that. But I do keep tabs on it, and I will watch replays. And if there's certain matches in particular that I hear a lot about, I'll go back and I'll watch it. But I look at things differently. I look at things more from like a student and from a working standpoint where I study things. But, you know, I do keep tabs on it. And if there's anything in particular that, like, for example, you know, I remember Gunther and Chad Gable had a lot of classic matches just a few months back. And so I went back and I rewatched those. So, yeah, more so for studying purposes. Okay. But I do keep tabs, of course.
So do you acknowledge the tribal chief?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you acknowledge the tribal chief?
Oh, no, I'm a huge fan of what he did and what he's doing. I mean, I was just, you know, for me, like, I look at him as being like one of the best of all time, just because of the work he's put in and just the fact that he was able to hold the title as long as he have in this generation. And like I said this before, like I would almost put Roman. Now I will put Roman in my Mount Rushmore of the best of all time, and because I feel like when it's all said and done, he will be considered one of the best, if not the best.
So, is there any particular match that is your favorite match of watching it that you just go back and study and study and study?
Probably if I had to think of anything that comes to mind more than any other match, and there's so many out there, but from a fan perspective, it would have to be Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Is it a technical, wrestling clinic? No, but if you look at it from the crowd interaction, I don't think there's any match in history that can top that one. I mean, here they were standing face to face. They hadn't even touched each other yet, and yet the entire stadium, the entire venue is going absolutely crazy. And I remember when they finally locked up and Hulk Hogan, pushed him off of them and started flexing, and the whole place went insane. And I feel like it goes to show you the star power they have and the connection they have with the fans. And to me, that's what it's all about. So from that perspective, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, another classic one. I'm a huge fan of, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. My favorite of all time, I mentioned earlier, is Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13. Also, the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 25. And those are the ones that really come to mind.
Okay. So training. So what was it like? What happened in Chico's life to say, man, I'm doing this right now? And can you walk us through the training of after that?
Well, like I said, I started watching it at 10, and like almost right away, I knew this is what I want to do. So like that never left. That never entered.
Okay.
That never left my mind. I knew right then and there, this is what I'm going to do, and nothing's going to change that. So
Okay.
that plan was always for me to do that. So of course, a couple of years later, we got a computer, and I started researching like how do you become a pro wrestler, and I started learning about wrestling schools. And so my dad actually took me to Malden, Massachusetts, which is only a couple hours from my hometown, to go to Killer Kowalski's wrestling school in Malden, Massachusetts. Yeah, I was 13, so I met Killer Kowalski, and he said, you can actually start training at your age. The only problem was the school was like 2.5 hours away. And so I would have loved nothing more than to train there, but it's just the distance at the time. Of course, I didn't have a car. I didn't have a license. I was too young. So my plan was, okay, I'll graduate high school and then I'll pursue training. But after high school, I went to college for 4 years. I did go to a wrestling camp in 2007 during spring break of my senior year of high school in Atlanta, Georgia, WWA 4, which is still around today. And so I did a 3-day camp. So I got a little taste of it. And, the fire was still there. The fire was still burning more than ever. So I went to college for 4 years. I graduated college. A week later, I moved from Lee, Massachusetts to Ocala, Florida to start training with the Dory Funk Jr. at the Funking Conservatory. And so I was there for a little bit, and then I ended up training in Orlando for another 5.5 years. After that, I started training with Alpha the Wild Samoan with Pops, beginning in very early 2017. And then in the summer of 2020, I got invited to train at the Dungeon 2.0 with TJ Wilson and Natalia. I was there the first day they opened the doors, August of 2020, and I've been there ever since, every single week.
That's awesome, man. As a matter of fact, I pulled something off the internet. I got to read this. WWE superstar wrestler Natalia Neidhart said Chico is so committed to his craft. He drives 2 hours each way to train at her facility. He's the one guy you really want to have working with you if you're in the wrestling business. So major flowers from Natalia. That is amazing. So yeah, you are leading a mark on people around you. So that speaks volumes for you as a wrestler. So
Thank you.
absolutely. So I'm asking these random questions. So what do you consider your highlight of your wrestling career so far?
There's quite a few to say. I mean, for example, today is actually the 6-year anniversary of my first ever match with the WWE, which was April 11, 2018. I had the honor, the privilege to go one-on-one with Lio Rush at NXT here in Orlando. Another big match that I had, I wrestled Omos, which was at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, in October of 2022. And right before the match, we did a backstage segment with D-Generation X, which was a live, on-the-fly promo. We didn't have anything planned. It was, like I said, on the fly. So and here's DX. I mean, besides Stone Cold, besides The Rock, DX was another faction, another set of superstars that really caught my attention as a kid. So that was really special for me to have that moment. And then to go out to the ring and wrestle on Monday Night Raw, the same show that got me hooked on professional wrestling. It was such a huge full circle moment for me. I've also had the honor to wrestle Jake Hager on AEW Dynamite in 2020. Tonight, actually, my match aired from my Ring of Honor debut. So I've also wrestled for NWA, for MLW. So I've had a lot of great memories, a lot of great moments, a lot of great opponents. I mean, in the independent league, I wrestled Gangrel numerous times. The first time I wrestled him was March of 2017 at the Guilt nightclub here in Orlando, another guy that I grew up watching. So that was another full circle moment for me. So honestly, there's a lot that come to mind, and I look forward to the future and creating more memories.
Okay. So do you have any advice to get that? I'll back up. What advice comes to mind that you received in your career that helped you get this far?
And this is something that always came naturally to me. I feel like it's not something that someone had to teach me necessarily, but it's stuff that you hear that I can't stress enough. Is just always be respectful to everyone, always, no matter what. Never forget where you came from. Always be professional. So, the one thing, no matter how much experience you have, whether it's your first day or whether you're a 20-year vet, you always have control over your attitude. And one thing that goes a long way is your reputation. You can be the best wrestler, you can have the best look, the most mic skills, the most experience, but if you don't have a good reputation, you're only going to go so far. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm not the best in-ring wrestler. There's plenty of wrestlers that might look better than me, that might talk better than me. But one thing about me is I have a reputation where I'm dependable. If you book me, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give it my all. And I have a good attitude. I conduct myself in a professional manner. You don't have to worry about me saying or doing something that's going to hurt myself or hurt anybody else. So it's called professional wrestling for a reason. Conduct yourself like a pro at all times. Work hard. Don't take any shortcuts. Travel, work as much as you can, and find your niche. I mean, the business is so competitive. There's so many people fighting for that spot, but you got to find ways to stand out. You have to be creative. There has to be something about you that no one else has. And it's tough because there's so many people sometimes doing similar things. So you really have to, think outside the box. But yeah, just find your niche and go from there. We're all good at something. If you're not good at something, don't do it, and work on it until you are good at it. Another thing I would say is just, let's see. Yeah, I would say, mouth shut, ears open, learn from those who came before you. Always ask for advice, and just, try to pick the brains of those that you do emulate, because there's so much studying out there. There's so many people out there that are willing to help you and help you get to that next level. I can't count how many seminars I've gone to or how many people I've trained with, how many people I've had in a car with me. Just be a sponge. Try to be a student of the game, because it goes such a long way.
Do you think the young guys, you think they don't pay attention to that advice and miss out on some opportunities because they don't shut up, they don't listen to the legends?
I can't stereotype or generalize because I can't speak for everybody. I think there's always going to be people out there that might fit what you said. There's also people out there that do have good attitudes, that are professional, that do the right things. One person I want to give a shout out to is Cam Stewart. He's in his early 20s. He trained at Flatbacks, with Tyler Breeze and Sean Spears, but he does all the right things. He's only been in the business a couple of years, but he gets, he's tanned. He's works on his promos. He works on his look. He travels. I mean, he's someone else who had a match with NXT. He's had numerous matches with AEW. He's another one of those guys that's hungry and puts the work in. So yeah, I mean, there's no one size fits all. I mean, I would be wrong for me to say that the newer generation doesn't do this or doesn't do that. There's always going to be people out there that do the right things and people that don't. All you can do is just focus on yourself and go from there. So, but I will say, the business, a lot of times things come with experience. And as we get older, as we get more mature, we learn from that. I mean, me now, I'm completely different from what I was 13 years ago when I first started. Lord knows I made my fair share of mistakes, and I might have said things and did things that I certainly wouldn't do now. So, it is good to make mistakes because we learn from it. And what matters is what you take away from that.
I got to give you flowers for this. Make-A-Wish Foundation. Can you tell me about your involvement in that? And I'll give you a man. I work with foster kids. My wife and I run the emergency shelter here in the Panhandle of Florida, and we work with kids, giving them a safe place, and giving them things that they would never get because of their situations. And then I meet a guy like you that same thing, but a different organization. You work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So basically, I want to say thank you for your service of that. And if you want to talk briefly about that, go ahead.
Well, first off, you're welcome. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. I want to thank you as well for what you guys do. So I've been volunteering for the Make-A-Wish Foundation since early 2017. And what I like about it is that, there's no minimum requirements for it. I mean, I volunteer as much as I possibly can. So just like with wrestling, I'm emailing them or they're emailing me saying, hey, we have this opportunity, or I'll say, hey, are there any opportunities that I could help out with? And if I'm available to do it, I'll do it. If I have to take a day off from work or, move stuff around, I'll do my best to be there as much as possible. And every opportunity is usually different from the other one. For example, there's times where I've done events where I got to interact with Wish Kid, alumni, where I get to meet them and hear their stories. Other times I went to the Make-A-Wish Wishmakers Ball last year in Orlando through Disney. So that was a lot of fun. I went to Disney Springs. I got to go to one of the stores and just advertise Make-A-Wish. And we've done fundraisers. I mean, every event is different, but I've met so many great people and learned a lot. And I can't, put over Make-A-Wish enough. So if anyone out there would like to donate, please contact me. I'll be more than happy to send you the link. And I can't think of a better organization or a cause than Make-A-Wish. But there's other great organizations as well that I can't stress enough. For example, I also volunteer for Give Kids the World here in Florida, in Central Florida. So there's a lot of great organizations out there, and volunteering your time is one of the most important things you can do because there's people out there in need, and we have the ability to touch other people's lives. The world needs more of that, in my opinion.
Awesome, man. So I got two things, then we're gonna get into the Riot Pro and then WXW before we have to let you go. Fans. How important are fans to Chico, and how do you connect with those guys everywhere you go?
So the fans are extremely important because let's be honest, without the fans, there would be no professional wrestling. So it's very important to us to have that. And, emotional connection is the most important thing you can have in wrestling because, like I said, you can have the best look, you can be the best wrestler in the world, but if a fan doesn't connect with you, you're not going to go as far. So I appreciate each and every fan that's out there. I think we need more fans because, the business itself, I feel like we're in that boom period right now and it's only going to grow bigger. We have The Rock, who's been on TV every week. And obviously with his schedule, it's not going to be like that, forever. But we have The Rock, we have Cody Rhodes, we have, John Cena was on recently. I mean, there's so many, and not just that, but we have other great up and coming talents as well that are really finding their mark and making a name for themselves. So I think we're in a good period right now, and I think it's only going to continue to get better. And I want to thank all the fans out there for, for supporting us, because again, without them, there wouldn't be professional wrestling.
Awesome. Appreciate that. You do know that I work with foster kids, so of course we eat dinner together, and I tell them what we do, what I'm doing tonight, and they know that I'm talking to a professional wrestler. So they have some questions. It's just random questions from kids. So I'll fire away. Favorite food?
I'm a huge buffalo chicken fan, so I love pizza. So buffalo chicken pizza is my favorite. But I also do my best to eat healthy. So I usually like salmon. So buffalo chicken pizza, if I'm having a cheat meal and I'm trying to go healthy, I would say salmon.
You put pineapple on your pizza?
I do not. I don't judge people that do. I don't personally do it.
Okay.
But
favorite food? My favorite book. Sorry.
I was gonna say favorite food. Favorite book. Well, I don't think I've ever been asked that question before, so that's a good one. I like autobiographies, especially in wrestling. So I would have to say Chris Jericho's. Well, all of his books are good, but I would say the one that I really liked was the first one. I think it was a Lion's Tale, Around the World in Spandex. That was a good one. But yeah, just autobiographies in general, because like I said, you can learn about their lives, and especially in wrestling, you can learn things as well from reading it. So yeah, that's the one that really comes to mind first and foremost.
Favorite TV show?
But besides WWE, of course, right?
Right. Well, you can do WWE if you want.
Besides wrestling, I was gonna say Monday Night Raw, of course, was the show that got me hooked on wrestling. So anything WWE.
Okay.
But outside of wrestling, growing up, I was a huge fan of Full House. Believe it or not, I don't watch it on a regular basis anymore, of course. But growing up, that was the one that really came to mind.
Favorite movie?
Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Hands down. I'm a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. Terminator is my favorite franchise. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any hobbies?
I would like to think so. A lot of my hobbies revolve around wrestling. So, like, of course, going to the gym, watching movies, because I take a lot of inspiration from the media, from movies, from TV shows, from music. I'm also married. So, like, any spare limited time I do have, I try to spend with my wife and spend with our 4 cats. So we love going to the movies. We love, just going out, which again is rare, but we try to make the most of it when it does happen. So yeah, that, going to the gym, spending time with my cats.
Favorite sports team?
I'll be honest with you, I don't follow sports at all.
Right.
I played football in high school, but outside of that, yeah, I'm not a sports guy, to be honest with you.
And then the last one is Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Okay, so Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, and Roman Reigns. And I'll explain why. Of course, there's so many people that come to mind, and it's one of those things where, like, not everyone's going to agree with it. But the reason I mentioned them 4 is because when I think of people that put wrestling on the map in, the 80s, early 90s, I think of Hulk Hogan. When I think of the late 90s, the one wrestler, the biggest household name, in my opinion, was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then you look at John Cena, the fact that he was able to be on top for that long, and for everything he's done with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and just being that top guy and a good role model for WWE, I think John Cena. And then Roman Reigns, just because of the last run that he had with the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship, and just the legacy that he's created. The fact that he was on top for as long as he was as well. So I have to say them 4. But other people, of course, that come to mind would be like The Undertaker, would be The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. I mean, the list goes on. But those are the 4 that come to mind for those reasons.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your WWE and AEW moments. I was told that you are one of the only ones that has been utilized, is showcased by both WWE and AEW in the same night.
So that's not in the same night, no.
Oh, okay.
What happened was, I can kind of peel back the curtain a little bit. So I was booked for WrestleMania in 2020 at the Performance Center. It was, of course, for 2 days. So what happened was, so on a trying to think if I can get the timeline correct. On a Tuesday night, I went down to Jacksonville and I had a match against Jake Hager. So the match, we filmed it on a Tuesday night. The next day, I go to the PC for day 1 of WrestleMania. That night, they aired the match that took place the night before.
Okay.
And then the next day was day 2 of WrestleMania, in which I got picked to be one of Goldberg's security guards. So on a Tuesday night, we filmed the match. Wednesday, I went to the PC for day 1 of WrestleMania. That night, they aired the match from Dynamite. And then the next day, I go to day 2 and I get used as Goldberg security. So technically, I wasn't there. They didn't air it the same night. I didn't do both in the same day. Okay. But I was at the PC during the day for WrestleMania, and then that night they aired AEW Dynamite where I wrestled Jake Hager. And then of course WrestleMania ended up being aired about a week and a half later. So it wasn't the same night for both, but I guess you can kind of say in a roundabout way it was.
Okay. I also was told by the same person, WWE used you as Dr. Chico Adams. I
wasn't officially Dr. Chico Adams. I mean, okay. I've played a doctor before. I've played a security guard before. I've played an underground fighter before. I've played all different kinds of roles before, but I've never been, quote, Dr. Chico Adams. I've never been, quote, doctor or anything. I've played various roles before on TV. Not just for WWE, but for other companies as well.
Okay. Now backstage, you might not be able to share any of this stuff. Backstage, in the, do you get treated like with extras? Do they get treated like just like the Rock and Shawn Michaels? Are you set in a different room to wait for your call up? Does that, I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, I can't go into like specific details. Okay. I mean, obviously, like, we're extras. We're not going to be like looked upon in the same level of respect as someone like a Shawn Michaels or The Rock. I mean, those guys are on that level for a reason. So as extras, our intent is to one day work for WWE or work for AEW, work for TNA. So being an extra, you're at least from my perspective, I'm there to do whatever is asked of me, but I'm also there to learn and grow so that I can one day work for them full time. So, but I make the most out of each and every opportunity. I can't go into specifics, but I love being there, and I've always been treated with nothing but with respect and kindness by everybody, and it's a very positive environment, and I can't speak highly enough about it.
So the end goal of your career is to finally make it to WWE, AEW, Impact, any of those big promotions?
I've always said the biggest thing more than anything else is to be happy. If I have my health and if I'm happy and if I'm doing what I love, that's what's most important, wherever that may be. I think some people, and this is including myself, for the longest time when I first got into business, I was obsessed with the concept of that I have to sign somewhere, I have to be signed. But I think people don't look at the big picture. Like, someone could theoretically be signed to a particular company and they might not be happy, whereas somebody else might not be signed anywhere, but they might be happy doing their own thing or making their own living, doing what they love, working for themselves. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's all about what we want on a personal level. Each person is different. Like I said, there's people out there that are in the indies making a full-time living more so than people who are signed. And those people who are signed, maybe they're not happy, or maybe they are happy. So again, everyone's different. Everyone has their own goals. My personal goal, of course, has always been to work full-time under contract with the WWE. But at the same time, most importantly is I want to have my health more than anything, because if we don't have that, then we don't have anything, in my opinion. But also to be happy and to be able to inspire others. Like I said, whether it's WWE, whether it's AEW, TNA, NWA, I want to be healthy and I want to be happy and I want to make a difference in this world.
Awesome, man. So now we're going to jump in from that into Riot Pro. You're the tag team champion with Sean Scott. Let's talk about Sean Scott and your tag team run there. And you're also the heavyweight champion for Riot Pro as well. I told you I had some information from said son Scott based on the interview that we had about an hour ago. So, are you comfortable with your tag team partner Sean Scott in the Riot Pro tag team going into your next event with them? And or is there friction? Because it appeared to me that there was friction after I was talking to Sean Scott because I think he has one goal in mind, and that's to take your heavyweight champion. Does that bother you? Does that concern you? Is that in your radar? Are you prepared for something like that?
Let's be honest. Anyone who's in this business, they want to be the best. They want to be the top guy. And if you're not, then what are you even doing here? So here's the thing. Yes, I am the Riot Heavyweight Champion. I am holding the richest prize in the company today. So I can't blame Sean Scott. I can't blame anyone for wanting that title. Now, of course, we're the unlikely pairing. We got paired together against our will, and in doing so, we became tag team champions. Now, look, I love gold as much as the next guy. I will team with anybody and everybody if it means winning, if it means collecting more championship titles, if it means, becoming victorious and having my bacon cow grow that much more. So in terms of Sean Scott, look, I'll team with anybody. I mean, I like Sean Scott. I don't know if Sean Scott likes me. And I feel like we're starting to grow on each other a little bit. He wants that Riot Heavyweight Championship, and I can't blame him. I mean, I'd say I want it too, but I do have it. But here's the other thing. I don't plan on losing that championship anytime soon. So if Sean wants a shot at it, I mean, he might have to get in line. There's other people out there that are vying for that title as well. But if potentially when that match does happen, I think we all know that Chico Adams will be the one who ends that match with his hand raised in victory. And as for the tag team championships, look, we're in that ring together. We're a cohesive unit. At least I like to think so. We'll defend those tag team championships against any tag team out there. Whether you think you're the best, whether you're, someone who wants to be on that next level, that next echelon. If you can get through Sean Scott and Chico Adams, then I guess you deserve to be the tag team champions. But the way I see it, I don't plan on losing the tag team championships or the Riot Heavyweight Championship anytime soon. So to answer your question, I respect Sean Scott. But if he thinks he's going to take that title away from me, well, that's a different story.
I didn't mean to ruffle any feathers, but based on what I had a conversation with him about an hour ago, I don't know if he's focused on the tag team champions more than he's focused on being the next in line to come after your heavyweight champion. So I just wanted to make sure you knew what might be behind you. So so that's why I brought that up. Nothing else. I just want you to talk about your heavyweight champion and your tag team champion, and you just did that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I'm a defending champion. I have no problem defending it against anybody and everybody, so including Sean Scott. So we've had a lot of wars before. I mean, that's for sure. We have wrestled each other countless times in WXW. We never wrestled each other singles in Riot, but I do think that day is coming. So, yeah, gotta tune in and wait and see.
All right. So, WXW. I mean, this is the one that probably is hard to swallow, hard to. I like it. I was talking to Vertigo about 3 weeks ago, and I don't know how I would be as a wrestler, as a performer for WXW Alpha Pops going into this last match. What kind of crazy emotions have you been going through the last couple of weeks, knowing that this last title defense against Bobby Fish is coming up in less than 3 days? So can you explain the emotions that are going through coming to the close of WXW?
Yeah, when Pops made that announcement, I mean, we were all out by the ring, and I think when I say I think I can speak for everybody. I was genuinely shocked because none of us knew what that announcement was going to be. I mean, it wasn't the first time that we've all been out there as a group, like whether it's for like a 10 bell for someone or whether it's, other announcements. But yeah, no, I was genuinely shocked. And I think it took a while for me and for others to truly process that because, like I said, I never thought that WXW would end. They say, all things have to come to an end eventually. But I think we all thought that it would continue on for many more years. So it took a little while to really process that. But once I did, I looked at the big picture. I'm the kind of person, I always try to see the silver lining, the positives and everything. WCW is, I'm sorry, WCW, I'm sorry, WXW, World Extreme Wrestling. It's a legacy. It's such a historical company. It's been around for more than a quarter of a century. It's one of the longest running companies out there today. So Pops, he's worked so hard to build that company up. He's opened up so many doors for myself, for many others, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without him. So I'm truly grateful for Pops, for the whole Anawati family, the Samoan dynasty, and I'm thankful to have been a part of WXW. So it is going to be an emotional night this coming Saturday, which is only 2 nights away. I go in the ring with Bobby Fish. This is actually the first time we've had a official match against each other. I know Loki will be wrestling Vertigo, who's the WXW champion. There's, I'm sure, going to be a lot of surprises on hand. A lot of people. There's people flying in from all over the world for this show. The show is sold out. The building has a certain capacity, so there's going to be hundreds of people there. It's going to be, in my opinion, the biggest show in WXW history. And if we're going to do this thing, if we're going to, go out, we're going to go out with the bang. But I am thankful that Pops gets to close the doors on his own terms. Like I mentioned before, he's the one who started WXW, and it's only right that he's the one to end that as well.
Who's been your biggest nemesis in WXW?
One of them is Sean Scott. Speaking of the devil, there's quite a few. There's him. There's the notorious VIN. Of course, Vertigo. So Vertigo actually won the WXW championship the first time from me. So I had that title for almost 2.5 years, which is one of the longest, if not the longest, reigns in the company's history. And then Vertigo beat me for the title. Vertigo's a 2-time champion, but the first time he won it, he defeated me. So I'd have to say Vertigo, Sean Scott, and the notorious VIN are the 3 that come to mind.
So Vertigo beats you. He has the heavyweight champion, and he goes in on Saturday to face Loki. Do you feel that you should be in that match against Vertigo? Are you okay with Loki being there? Would you want to have a chance at that title before WXW closed, or are you fine doing what you're doing?
Oh, I'm very proud of the reign that I had. Like I said, I was the longest, if one of the longest, if not the longest, reigns in the whole company's history. So I'm very proud of that. Loki is an incredible talent. He's someone else who's been around for, more than 25 years. So there's no doubt in my mind that Vertigo and Loki will have a classic match. And so, the last thing I want to do is step on anybody's toes. But I'm actually, I have a match scheduled against Bobby Fish. And like I said, we were actually supposed to wrestle each other about a month ago. And due to circumstances beyond our control, the match never officially happened. So this is the first time we're working against each other. And Bobby Fish has a legacy that speaks for itself as well. So I think the fans are in for a treat by having those 2 matches. They have Vertigo versus Loki, and then we have myself versus Bobby Fish. So, and then not just that, there's other great matches as well on hand. So I'm thankful with what I have. I'm grateful for each and every opportunity. And I think everyone has the chance to really shine on this show.
So I have to ask, do you see yourself walking out victorious?
So Bobby Fish obviously does have more experience than me. So I am in some ways the underdog in this match, I guess you could say, but I also have the home field advantage because, to my knowledge, Bobby Fish has never wrestled for WXW, and he's definitely never wrestled in that venue before. So I feel like I have the fans on my side. I have the home field advantage, and I'm walking in with the television championship. So there's no doubt it's going to be a hard-fought battle, but I am going to spoil the ending for you. I do know who is going to win that match, and that is going to be the fans of WXW, they are going to be the true winners. So no matter what happens, the fans are in for a treat. That I can promise you.
Do you think your buddy Sean Scott might show his face around your match?
I mean, he may. I can't control what he does. Um, I do want to have just a clean, fair fight against Bobby Fish. I don't want to have any outside interference because I don't want anybody to try to take credit for the victory if it is me who walks out. Or, if Bobby Fish does defeat me and he does so in a clean, fair manner, then fine. I'll shake his hand and consider him to be the better man. But I think the fans deserve a fair fight right down the middle, and that's what I plan on giving to them.
Awesome. I appreciate that. As a fan, I appreciate that. What's been your favorite match at WXW so far that you've been in?
Favorite match? Wow, that's a tough question. I've had so many. That's the thing. I would have to say I wrestled Lance Anoa'i, which is Pops' grandson. We had a couple of classic matches. The first time we wrestled each other, so I've held that TV championship. Not to sound cocky, but I actually lost count. I think I've had that title like 5 or 6 times. But I think the first or second time that I lost the title, it was to Lance. And then I ended up winning it back in December of 2019. Now, I won the title back from Lance, the TV title, and then that night, I snuck into the main event and I walked away with the WXW championship. So I walked away with both the TV title and the WXW title that night. So that was really special to me because not many people have held both titles at the same time, but I'm one of them.
In your career at WXW, who was the guy that helped you the most?
Of course, Pops himself. He's the leader. He's the true mentor. He's the one that's really, pushed me and saw something in me. And if Pops sees something in you, he's not gonna. Not that I've ever been one to give up by any means, but he's not gonna let anyone give less than 100%. So definitely Pops, but also Vertigo is someone that I have to give credit to as well because Vertigo is the one that helped open that door for me. I mean, I wanted to be in WXW for a while, and so just with timing and with various things, but Vertigo is the one that actually got the ball rolling for me and helped introduce me to Pops and open that door. So I never would have been in WXW had it not been for Vertigo. So I got to give him credit. But yeah, Pops, Vertigo, and everyone has played a part in some way for me.
And I do want to respect your time. Huge Pop fans, Chico has to travel tomorrow early or maybe later tonight down to Tampa to be performing at NWA. Am I correct?
I'm not sure if I'll be performing necessarily, but I definitely will be there. So, of course, the goal is always to have a match, but if not, I'll be there to help out and pay dues. And that's another thing that, paying dues never ends in professional wrestling. No one is bigger than the business, and I'm always there to help out and give back. But if the opportunity presents itself, I definitely won't say no to a match.
And I usually ask that question about paying dues. I think it's very important. I understand. I mean, as a podcast guy, I cover a local independent scene up here in the Panhandle in Panama City, XIW, Extreme Impact Wrestling, where there's Damian Wayne, John Saxon, Jackson Slade, Adrian Whisper, and those guys. And I get there early enough to help because if they're going to give me a table to put content out, I owe that to them to help set up. So paying dues, paying it back, I get that on my end. It's pretty cool to hear somebody say, hey, so when you say pay your dues, my question is, do you bring your gear anywhere you go?
As a true professional, you should always have your gear on you at all times because you never know if or when you'll be needed for something. I remember one time, quick little story. I was booked on a show back in 2016 or 17, and the promoter told me, like, you're going to be booked for an in-ring promo against Raven. ECW, WCW, WWE legend Raven. He assured me like, you won't have a match, it's a promo. And of course, I always want to wrestle, but in this case, I knew that with Raven being such a great talker, I was like, all right, like I'm going to go all out and really have a solid back and forth promo segment with him. So I had this thing all planned out. And that was the only time I ever didn't bring my gear, because in my mind, I was like, I'm doing this segment. He made it clear to me, I definitely won't have a match. I showed up and I find out that Raven, due to reasons beyond his control, could not make the show. And come to find out, a spot opened up and they asked me, hey, we need you to do a match tonight. And of course, here I am. I don't have my gear with me. And so basically I learned my lesson the hard way, to no matter what, always have your gear, because you never know if or when you may need it. So ever since then, I've always had my gear each and every time. It's better to have it and not need it than vice versa.
Awesome. Well, Chico, man, I thank you for sharing your story, your career, also for talking about WXW. I know I want to respect your time. It's about 3 minutes before 1:45. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for what you do, coming from a fan. Thank you for your adversity. Thank you for your willingness to go wherever you need, wherever it is. I look forward to seeing you on WXW. I get the privilege to be watching it online. I can't be down there. I can't get there, but I will be watching it online. And I'll be showcasing it on my podcast as it's going on. I'll be doing like a watch along. So I encourage anybody that's watching to come on YouTube, Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for those guys that are here, those 3 that are, 4 or 5 that are here. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. But I'm going to give Chico the last couple minutes to say anything he needs to say about WXW to close the show. Anything he needs to say about his his upcoming opponent, Bobby Fish, Sean Scott. I don't know what you have on your mind, man, but the time is yours. And after you finish what you're saying, I will close the show and I'll hit some music. But don't go anywhere. I need about 2 minutes of your time, so stay in the green room, okay?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I want to say thank you again for having me. They say time flies when you're having fun, and time definitely flew by these last 47 and 42-second minutes here. So anyway, thank you to all the fans out there for supporting me, for supporting professional wrestling. You hear it once, you hear it a million times, but it's true. Without the fans, we wouldn't be able to do what it is that we do best. As for this Saturday, so normally I would plug the show and say, oh, get your tickets now. Of course, the show is sold out, and rightfully so. But yeah, WXW is the grand finale, April 13th. We have a lot of great matches on hand, a lot of great talents on hand. So I want to thank Pops off of the Wild Samoan. I want to thank Julio Vertigo Rivera for being the one to open the doors for me. To my opponent this Saturday, Bobby Fish. I mean, this man has wrestled for WWE, he wrestled for AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, the list go MLW, the list goes on and on. I look forward to the challenge. I look forward to defending that coveted TV championship. And yeah, I want to be pushed to my limits, because that's what I do best. Is when I'm pushed, I bring out my best work. So, and to all the fans out there, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram at the Chico Adams. I'm on Facebook. You go on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel as well. If anyone wants to donate to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, please let me know. I can gladly send you the link. I also do anti-bullying presentations where I travel to various elementary, middle, high schools, private schools, you name it, to teach anti-bullying. So if anyone out there works as a teacher or works in the school system, if you'd like for me to come to your school, same thing. You can send me a DM or a private message on any of my social media platforms, and I'll be more than happy to talk about that as well. And just in closing, thank you so much to everyone out there who supports not just me, but all of professional wrestling. Like I said, the business needs more fans. I want each and every company out there to thrive and to succeed, because it gives us more opportunities to work, which gives us a chance to travel more and make more contacts and get better and just grow the business as a whole. So I'm very excited for the future, not just for me, but for everybody. So in closing, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing everyone this Saturday, and thank you.
Thank you, Master Chico Adams. Huge Pop Wrestling fans, thank you for tuning in for the second show tonight. I know it's been busy. Thank you. I want to thank Julio Rivera for facilitating all the names that he's given me, and we have more to come. Alpha, the Pops, thank you for giving permission to Julio to allow us to do this. The goal is to keep on interviewing guys and girls from WXW and hear their stories. And I appreciate all that time. Again, watch the live. It's WXW on Saturday and the 13th at 5:30 is bell time. And I appreciate all you guys, all you fans out there. This is Huge Pop. Tune in tomorrow. I have Death Row from WXW and Ashley Hartley tomorrow from WXW to hear their stories. Chico Adams, thank you so much for being on board. Man, good luck on Saturday. I love you guys. And Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Thank you again, guys. And we're out.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army. They got the tanks and everything. He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled. Cause when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle. 6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out.